are posting use hashtag PlanHer2019. So this last panel, I was excited about all the panels that, all the panelists that spoke, but I'm really excited about this last panel because I am passionate about women activism, women activists, women empowerment, all of that. And you know, you hear women empowerment, and I know it gets a bad rap because you meet a lot of women who are empowering in public, but they gossiping behind people's back. So I know we can all, think of somebody, but like Klarke kept saying, like I said, we handpicked this panelist. And if you're wondering, what do we mean by handpicked? So one cool thing that we, except for like a few, I think it was maybe 3 panelists that we did not do the applications for that I actually reached out to. However, everyone else, we did something. We promoted that we had a speaker opportunity for the panel, and we did applications. And so a lot of women from Houston were applying. We did some via Skype, and a lot were in person. And so these women were actually chosen by me. We asked them different questions when it relates to women empowerment and just who they are and what they do. And all of these women completely stood out to me. Again, I'm passionate about them, so I want to make sure that if they're going to be giving you guys tip tools and resources, I want to make sure that it's something that's going to hit, and something that is going to hit hard. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the stage founder of My Living Screen, Ashley Cockrell. Founder of Glitter and Gold, Valencia Thompson. Motivational speaker and teacher advocate, Kween Jones, and founder of Paper Coast to Cocktails, Klarke. All those things. Okay. Hi, y'all. Hey. Y'all look so great. So beautiful. I know we got all this light, but I want people to be able to see you guys. Let me come over like this so I can see y'all. Love the pink. This button. Let me just adjust the way I'm sitting. Maybe we need to turn these. Okay. Let's get right into it. Okay, so like I said, I'm passionate about women empowerment. I'm passionate about sharing stories, and like you guys have already seen the theme of this conference, we've been sharing a lot of stories before we get into the tips and tools, because I believe that branding is really getting to know the person. A lot of people can have the most great products and services, but a lot of people will support what you're doing if they feel like they connect with you, especially in the realm of women activism and women empowerment. People want to know that you're true to this, because there's some people who, are not. So I really want to get into your stories. I'm so honored again to have you guys here. So similar to me and many other women, I'm coming to you, Ashley. In 2017, you found yourself in a dark place. While also experiencing mental strongholds. So can you tell us what those strongholds look like, and just, share your story?
Yes, absolutely. So actually it was 2016. I think 2017 I was digging myself out of the hole.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about 2016, and I think someone else had, 2 other people spoke about their 2016. So I guess it was a struggle. Okay. So 2016 for me, I worked full-time as a nurse practitioner, so I was working. I think I was kind of settled in Houston. I'm actually not from here, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so I was settled in Houston. I had a great friend group. Everything seemed to be fine on the outside looking in, but on the inside, I found myself so lost and unfulfilled. And it wasn't, I think I just didn't know my place in the world. I didn't know my identity. I didn't know really who I was, because so much of who I was had been wrapped up in my work and in my ability to perform on the job. So I was like, wait a minute, what else is there that you're supposed to be doing? How are you supposed to be showing up in the world? So I decided to go on a living spree. And so that's where my living spree comes from. But let's talk about the mental strongholds and really what happened. So I ended up getting in this toxic relationship. Anybody ever been in a toxic relationship? Speak on it? Okay. If you haven't, stay away from it. Don't stay on my floor. So you won't go there. Okay. So here you go. So because I didn't love myself, I settled for relationships that just were very toxic. I was with someone that was verbally, emotionally, and eventually physically abusive. And so a lot of people don't know that, but that really, really took a toll on me, and it took me farther and farther down in my depression. And so at that time, I was like very low. And the person, of course, he made me feel even lower. But the very first time that he put his hands on me, I was like, this gotta be the last time. Because I realized that I know God has a purpose for me, and I know that this person is literally trying to take me out, and is gonna take me out of my state. And so I said, Ashley, you gotta figure out what it is that you need to do to get back to who you are, because you're better than this. And God has a plan for you, and there's so much that He wants you to do. So you need to figure out who you are and fast, and stop getting lost in the identity of other people.
And so you left immediately?
So yes, so I left immediately that day. The next day actually, I had gone to a conference for my sorority, similar to this, and there was a panel. And on the panel, there was like a therapist. And in my mind, this was like 2 years prior to now, I was like, in my mind, I was like, if I ever need a therapist, I'm gonna call that lady, because she was a soror, she was just real down to earth, she was real. I was like, I like her, because I like real people and people that I can connect to. So I thought, I'm like, how do I even get out of this? I know, because first of all, I was like, yeah, he's terrible, but how did you get here, Ashley? What kind of situation were you in mentally to even end up with someone like this? So I said, you're gonna need a little assistance getting out of this. So I found the card, thank God. I found the card in my purse, and it was her card that I had saved from 2 years before. And I started getting therapy service, and at the time she was having to come every week, because it was a cute situation. And it was a more of accountability thing, and kind of like digging deeper. So I still go to her, every 2 weeks. And so that's been really good.
You also a life coach. So what resources, well, I don't know if she was a resource, if so, let us know, but what resources did you use to get into life coaching, especially after dealing with all of that?
So, first of all, my life experience. I was like, okay, Ashley, you didn't go through this for nothing. So once she told, once I started doing the work that she was having me to do, which was like talking to myself, affirming myself, really getting to the root of it. So, you have daddy issues, were there times where you felt lost, or people made you feel like you were less than, or you were not worthy, or you were not enough, like really pinpointing those things, and how do we get out of this? So I started to really dive deep in my word. I got a very close relationship with God. I started reading books. I started, following coaches and doing a lot of self-help conferences and things of that sort. So everything was pretty much self-taught and experiences, but putting it together and learning from others, pouring into myself so that I can pour out into other people.
Yeah, I love it, and different things. And I know, Valencia, your story is I'm pretty sure it's common, but a lot of Black women don't talk about it. Because I know you're talking about dealing with, mental strongholds, actually, and with the verbal and physical, abuse. But Valencia, you were actually struggling with an eating disorder, which is very, like I said, it's probably common, but it's rare because people don't talk about it. People don't, Black women, So tell us more about that time in your life.
Okay, so hi y'all, my name is Valencia Thompson. So from the age 15 to about 21, 22, I was bulimic. And I struggled with an eating disorder that no one knew about. Even those closest to me did not know, because I've always been the person that, I've always been able to come across confident, even at times in my life where I wasn't. I heard somebody say earlier they were the oldest girl, and on the panel earlier, and I'm also the oldest, so for me, I've always felt that need to be an example, and if I'm struggling, it's okay, don't show it, so even though that was not the way it was taught to me, that's the way that from a young age I internalized it. So when I started dealing with that, it's kind of ironic, because I always say, people say Black girls don't have eating disorders. That's stuff white girls go through. That's like Lifetime movie type stuff, right? And I actually was watching one of the Lifetime movies when, like, I got the, you know, like, seriously, that's how it happened. I was in health class in 10th grade, and it was, you know, we were watching a video about this gymnast, and she had to make weight, and, you know, all of that, and she had to weigh in, and she had to come in at a certain weight and all that kind of stuff. And so that, like, was very triggering for me at a time in my life where I was very insecure about my body image. And so I was like, oh, what's this? I never heard about this before, because, you know, this is not something culturally that I've been exposed to.
Yeah.
So that's where it started for me. And I was like, I'm too smart for this.
Yeah.
So, you know, I watched the movie and I'm like, okay, I see what can happen if this gets out of control, right? So I'm gonna try this, but it's not gonna get out of control because I'm too smart for this, right? This is just something I'm gonna do for a little bit. If it works, great, then I'll stop. Wrong. That's how I started at 15 and wasn't able to get a grasp on it until I was like 21, 22.
Yeah.
So that time in my life was very confusing because I was in denial. I did not think I had an eating disorder because I didn't do it every day. You know, I didn't do it every meal. You know, I only did it sometime. Like I spaced it out. Like I was too smart.
Yeah.
So when you talk about mental strongholds,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was. I was in a mental stronghold that I didn't even realize it because I can look back now and say like my pride wouldn't allow me to admit that I had a problem, and it did spiral and get out of control.
Yeah. And like you said, and it's crazy because I wasn't gonna say it, but you said it when you said that, you know, that's something white girls go through. That's something I think that, and that's why I was saying, you know, black women, we don't talk about that, but that's what you see on TV. Rarely do you see a movie or anything where it's a black woman.
Right.
And so continuing talking about this, Kivia, you refer to yourself as a spiritual strategist, which I absolutely love. And so I know that you told us about a time when you lost yourself mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And so I want you to share that with us.
Okay, so on this women's activist panel, we kind of get intense in this subject. So I'm going to ask y'all to do something so that we can feel the love and the energy up here. So I'm going to say I am who I say I am, and then I need y'all to repeat it so that we can feel it. Y'all ready? Okay. I am who I say I am.
I am who I say I am.
Y'all do mean it. I am who I say I am.
I am who I say I am.
Okay, we ready. So, losing myself, I didn't realize that I lost myself until I found myself. I realized in that moment after being molested at 7 by my brother, molested at almost 11 by a cousin by marriage, and then, how to word this, traded off to men that were maybe twice my age for someone's financial benefits. And after trying to commit suicide in every possible way that you can think of, I mean, Google and social media wasn't popping back then, but I was looking, I was searching, I was checking ABC 13 to see how they had done it before. When I realized it didn't work, I was like, what's up with that? That wasn't the plan. Why am I still here? So in that moment, I realized the issue wasn't why I'm still here. The issue was that I was still here.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had a purpose, I had a calling, and that God was not going to let me go until I was willing to surrender all control. All of it, not some of it, not a piece of it, not, well, God, you handle this part and I got that part. And then we meet back up in the boardroom. He was like, baby, you gonna let me do it or I'm gonna let you figure it out. So I had to pretty much go back to a blank canvas, get the unpeeling, the unraveling, everything that was inside of me. And I had gotten comfortable saying, "Who I'm glad I don't look like what I've been through." Because how many of y'all said that? Girl, oh, some of y'all lying. Y'all lying. But I had gotten comfortable saying it, and as I started to read more, read my word, expose myself to people who had not only been through what I've been through, but going where I was looking to go, I realized that the reason why you're still going through what you're going through is because you have not allowed yourself to look like what you've been through. And if you don't allow that to happen, how can he be praised or you give him mercy or anything? So that's how I realized I've been lost when I found myself.
Yeah, and I've never heard that saying like that. That sometimes you have to look like what you've been through.
You have to.
Because I don't ever want to look like what I've been through. ever. And it was something else you said that just triggered something, and I was just like, man, she's speaking to me. But I know you also practice yoga and meditation, things like that, and as you know, women and black women, we get portrayed a lot as the angry black woman with bad attitudes and all this stuff. But you're a black woman who practices yoga. So do you agree with that narrative? Why or why not? And I want you to be honest.
I would say I don't agree with it. Every black woman is not angry. Every woman is not angry. What I will say is that we have been taught and programmed that we are angry. So we subconsciously agree with that and we act out on that. What I will say is that we have been taught to suppress our feelings and emotions, and we have not even been exposed to the million other emotions that exist. So sometimes when I speak loudly and I come out real strongly and I'm rolling my neck and popping my fingers, I'm not angry, I'm passionate.
Right.
I'm frustrated, I'm disturbed. Somebody even threw off my energy, but I'm not angry. Because to be angry is to be confused in the mindset. So I don't believe that every woman is angry. I do feel like we are not exposing ourselves to the many other emotions that are out there to be able to properly identify with what we're feeling and how we're feeling about something.
Yeah. And so, Krista, I know in the workplace, you probably dealt with so many things that would make you the angry black woman. You know, you experienced many gaps, you know, just in your ability to, you know, get certain things in leadership. So tell us about those experiences.
So I have always been, I guess, like, I don't want to say my parents' favorite child, but the goody two-shoes of the family. You know, the bookworm. Instead of playing outside, I'd be reading a book. Instead of getting into trouble, I'm reading books. And so just growing up, I had like this perception that my parents wanted me to strive for perfection.
Yeah.
And so I grew up with this as a perfectionist. Like I call myself a recovering perfectionist. And but because of that drive and because of that desire to really excel and to try to hit this level of black excellence, I found myself in rooms where, you know, I'm the youngest black woman. So pretty early on in my career, like I'm leading multi-million-dollar projects. I think at one point in time, my projects collectively $11 million in budgets. And this was probably age like 25, I want to say, 25 around that age, 2016. And so I'm in this environment, and I'm realizing, you know, not only is it like this perception of like my age and people telling me to wait my time in line, but I'm also realizing that I don't understand how to operate in these corporate politics. Unfortunately, I'm like learning in this very high risk environment, and it's a toxic workplace too. It's a toxic work environment. How to try to navigate, and I was doing it on my own and also in talking with my mentor. I know I was put up for promotion, and this is kind of like when it started spiraling for me. I was put up for promotion by the director of the department, and the director eventually, she left the institution. When the promotion was set to go through, HR said she's 6 months in experience. They looked at my resume and they saw how I'm a project manager by training. They looked at my resume and they said, well, this one position where you're coordinating events, so conferences like this, but for corporate America, that's not project management, though the professional institutions, they do consider that project management. And so in advocating for myself, I did get labeled the angry black woman by my department. I was actually called entitled, right? So from that, you know, I was just feeling like I'm in this toxic environment, I'm going home, I'm crying, I'm having anxiety attacks, like, in the office. And so the first time that I remember, I was like, man, I can't breathe, what is going on? So I closed my door. I called EAP. If you work for a traditional workplace, most of the time your employer will have a program called Employee Assistance Program where you can actually sign up for free therapy. So I went to EAP and I did my sessions with her, and she's like, well, you know, are we gonna work on you learning how to cope better with this environment, or are we going to work on you creating your exit plan? And so I decided that I was gonna leave. While I'm there, let me know if I'm going over there. While I'm there, you know, and I'm working with her, I'm praying the whole time, like, God, like, just help me to find the next right place for me. Give me a boss that is supportive. Give me the community that I could go to learn how to deal with these politics, to learn how to get the resources that I need, because, you know, America, they're looking at women issues now. But Black women, Latina women, Asian women, we need different resources in the workplace than what they're gonna, than what white women need. And the resources that they're gonna provide to women is gonna cater towards white women. It's not gonna cater towards minority women.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know, God, just like help me out, give me my next step, and give me a nurturing boss, give me a nurturing environment. I don't care what it is, and I forgot to pray about the job salaries.